Every month you should try to recite the whole Quran cover to cover. This is the minimum duty we have to the Quran, to recite it in Arabic from cover to cover. Why is it so important? When you recite the Quran, you'll get nur. Allah will give you nur. If you recite and Allah accepts your recitation of the Quran, you'll get nur. And when you have nur, then you can see what otherwise cannot be seen. And there are so many people in the world today. The world is filled with people who have eyes and yet cannot see. Most of them, of course, in government. Most of them in government. They have eyes and yet cannot see. And Dajjal is ruling the world, and Dajjal is beating his drum. And they all have to dance to every tune that Dajjal plays. Oh my gosh. So when you recite the Quran and Allah accepts your recitation and He puts nur in your heart, and provided that you are doing your homework, you'll get light with which to see, and you'll be able to understand the reality of the world in which you live today. And tonight, I want to spend a little time devoting attention to one aspect of that reality that confronts us in the world today. So many of you have been writing to me, asking me sometimes, demanding of me, please, please, please tell us what's happening with Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And yes, there are dramatic events taking place. And unless one can connect the dots, one will not know what's happening. I would like to begin my talk tonight by suggesting, that's all I can do, suggesting I'm not a prophet. No, I don't have some crystal ball in which I can see the future. No, Allah has not sent the future to me, informing me. No, I'm just using the intellect that Allah has given to me, using internal, intuitive, spiritual insight, a little bit of which I've been blessed, trying to connect the dots and to seek to understand what is happening in the world today. And in the process, I can make mistakes. Oh yes, I can make mistakes. And I have made mistakes in the past, and I'm happy when I make mistakes. Because when you make a mistake and you realize that you've made a mistake, the first thing you must do, of course, is to correct yourself. And set an example for those who come after you, that they also would recognize we all make mistakes, but that should not mean that we should give up. No, when you make a mistake and you realize it's a mistake, you correct yourself. Like I had said, was it 2009, I came to the conclusion that Russia was Magog, and that the Western world was Gog, and that was wrong. That was wrong. That was a mistake. And I have apologized to you for even making mention of that mistake now, because it was a mistake. The correct position is that Gog and Magog are those who brought the Jews back to the Holy Land. The Soviet Union certainly was part of it, but not Russia. And if you don't know the difference between the Soviet Union and Russia, you're still a schoolboy. You're still a schoolboy, yes. So I did make mistakes in the past, and I corrected myself now. And what's happening now with Saudi Arabia? I believe, and I am subject to correction, that the Saudi leadership, those who today control power in Saudi Arabia, the young prince who is the son of the king, the young reckless schoolboy, he probably understands, and there are others around him he's been able to convince, that yes, the big war is coming, and that it is the Malhama, and that in that big war, Israel is going to lash out, and Israel is going to seek to expand its territory to encompass the biblical frontiers of the Holy Land. And of course, the biblical frontiers of the Holy Land are in conflict with the frontiers of the Holy Land in the Quran. Which one is correct? Time will tell. And they realize that when once that war takes place, the anger in the world of Islam against Israel and against Saudi Arabia, which has been a friend and ally of Israel, increasingly perceived as a friend and ally of Israel, the anger in the world of Islam against the Saudi regime will be so great that they will not be able to survive. No. The writing is on the wall for two states, for Saudi Arabia and for Singapore. That one is Little Israel, and this one is Little Big Israel. So Singapore and Saudi Arabia. So both of these states are in a serious predicament. What to do? Do you sit down and wait with folded arms until the big war begins, and then it'll be too late to do anything? Or do you take preemptive action before the war starts? The war can start at any time. The big war can start at any time. My understanding, and I am subject to correction, is that what the new Saudi leadership is doing, and it is of course reckless on their part to do it, is to try to maneuver themselves in such a situation as to take out what they maybe call an insurance policy, that they would survive the Great War. That insurance policy means that they must project themselves as the leader of the Sunni world of Islam, undisputed leadership of the Sunni world of Islam, in succession to the Ottoman Empire. And this leadership of the Sunni world of Islam is meant to take the Sunni world of Islam into civil war against the Shia world of Islam. And in the process of Sunni-Shia civil war, Saudi Arabia as a leader of the Sunni world will survive, because there will be solidarity in the ranks of the Sunni Muslims saying we are fighting for Sunni Islam against Shia Islam. And so Saudi Arabia will survive with the recognition as leader of the Sunni world of Islam. In order to achieve this status of leadership of the Sunni world of Islam, they need to provoke some kind of a war. And they need to bring the world of Sunni Islam together with them in that war. And so what they have done is to amass this coalition of Sunni states whose leaders have all come together to sign an agreement. I believe they have signed an agreement to establish what they call an anti-terrorist bloc to fight terrorism. And it's obviously an anti-Shia bloc because Iran has not been invited. Iraq has been invited, and Iraq is led by Shias, but then Iraq is also part of the Yankee world because they have close ties with the United States of America. So we have this alliance now of Sunni states, and the former Chief of Staff of the Pakistan Armed Forces is appointed as the Commander-in-Chief of this entire bloc of Sunni states. And once they had the pieces in place and the agreement signed and everything in place, then they pulled that ace out of the cards. That is, they invited the American President Donald Trump to come to Saudi Arabia, and then brought all the leaders of the Sunni world of Islam by hook or by crook, some of them by their neck, brought them all to Riyadh to meet with Trump, so that he will cement an alliance between NATO and Sunni Islam. Why do they want this alliance between NATO and Sunni Islam? What is the big plan at work? And how does Qatar fit into this? I am of the opinion that Qatar, because it has been, like Saudi Arabia, a major actor supporting state-sponsored terrorism, arming the Yankee jihadists, I call them, arming them, providing them with weapons, providing them with funds, providing them with training, providing them with logistical support, to wage their bogus jihad in Syria, to wage their bogus jihad in Iraq, to wage their bogus jihad in Libya. Qatar and Saudi Arabia have been the two major actors. in the state-sponsored terrorism. But the difference between Qatar and Saudi Arabia is that Qatar is exposed geographically. It's a peninsula jutting out into the sea and facing Iran. And once war starts with Iran, Qatar is finished. Saudi Arabia has a big landmass, and Saudi Arabia therefore be able to put up some resistance, but Qatar no. So Qatar realized that they can't be part and parcel of this grand alliance that is going to, with NATO, that is going to take some kind of a military action that eventually would provoke Sunni Shia civil war. And so Qatar is not prepared to toe the line. And Qatar wants to hedge her bets by maintaining friendly ties with Iran, while yet promoting terrorism. And the Saudis are not prepared to allow any Sunni state to step out of line, because if one were to show the courage to step out of line and resist, then that will help others, that will give support to others, that will give encouragement to others who similarly have misgivings and so on. They're not too happy with it. They also will take some support from Qatar standing up, and they also will be reluctant to join. And the Saudis cannot allow that. They want a solid Sunni bloc standing behind them, and then put this solid Sunni bloc in alliance with NATO. That's why you have Trump there. And this is the reason why you have this conflict now between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and Saudi client states around Saudi Arabia, supporting Saudi Arabia. Well, then what is the grand plan? What is the master plan? What do the Saudis want to do? And for this, they need to have the solidarity of the Sunni world. I've already said that the master plan, of course, is to foment, to provoke Sunni Shia civil war. And this will solidify Saudi Arabia's position of leadership over the Sunni world, and it'll be like an insurance policy ensuring that the Saudis will survive the Great War which is coming. But I want to now suggest that there's something else at work. And this is the most important thing that I want to share with you in this brief talk. And that is that I fear, I hope I'm wrong, I wish I'm wrong, but I see the moves on the chessboard, and I read it and understand it in this way, that there's going to be a lightning move to land troops in Syria, northern Syria. Land troops from every single NATO member state and every single Sunni Muslim state led by Saudi Arabia. And this is what our Prophet ﷺ was speaking about when he mentioned that they come under 80 flags. And each flag would have 12,000 troops under the flag. I hope I'm wrong, I wish I'm wrong, but this is what I fear. That this prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ might be fulfilled in the coming days or weeks, with every single NATO member state sending troops, and every single Sunni Muslim state sending troops. And this is why Qatar has to be forced into line. I don't know whether they'll attack Qatar militarily. I don't know whether they'll do it or not. Somebody else might be able to tell you that. But when they land their troops, they will present Russia with what they hope to be a fait accompli. That the battle lines will be drawn. You have a vast array of NATO troops and a vast array of the whole Sunni world of Islam, all militarily present in northern Syria, facing the Syrian army, supported by Russia. And this is precisely the scenario which is there in the Hadiths, which leads to the Malhama, or to what the in Christian eschatology is called Armageddon. I am surprised that this great war has not started as yet. I had several dreams indicating to me that nuclear war is coming. I felt when Donald Trump won the election and instead of Hillary Clinton, that this was for us a window of sunshine, that the Great War is now perhaps postponed for a few months. Well, it's more than 6 months now since the elections of last November. And I don't believe the Great War has started as yet, although some of my critics might differ with me. Yes, they differ with me in everything that I say. So the Great War has not started as yet. And for that we have to thank Allah. The window of sunshine, meaning, by the window of sunshine, meaning a postponement of the Great War. That is what I mean by a window of sunshine, that the Great War has been postponed for a while. For how much longer will it be postponed? I don't know. But what I know for certain is that it's coming. It's just a matter of time. And I'm not the only analyst who have come to this conclusion. There are so many others who have come to the same conclusion. And I think the Russian leadership themselves have come to the conclusion that nuclear war is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. If I am correct, that Saudi Arabia is going to lead the Sunni world of Islam into an alliance with NATO, and this in turn will play out with every single Muslim country, Sunni country, sending troops, and every single NATO country sending troops, and all of these troops landing in the north of Syria in a vast array, 80 flags facing the Syrian army in order to force regime change in Syria, so that Syria will become another Libya. If this is correct, if this analysis on my part is correct, then how do we respond? How do we respond? The answer is, it is almost certain that there are fabrications in some of the HADITS concerning AKHIR ZAMAN. And we should therefore be very, very careful when studying the HADITS pertaining to AKHIR ZAMAN, and in particular to the Malhama. We must use proper methodology. And proper methodology, here is my book, Methodology. Let me get it for you here. Methodology for study of the Quran. You must study this book. We have it in French now, we have it in Arabic, we have it in several languages. It's being translated to Russian. We have it in the Serbian language now. It's going to be available for you in Bosnia, in Serbia, and so on. This book explains to you proper methodology. And proper methodology when studying the ahadith pertaining to the Malhama is that you must go first to the Quran. And you must study the subject from the Quran. And then, having studied the subject from the Quran and having brought all the verses of the Quran on the subject into a harmonious whole, and located what my teacher Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari Rahimahullah calls the system of meaning of the subject, then and only then do you turn to the hadith. And when you find a hadith is in harmony with the Quran, you accept it. And if you find a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, you turn away from it. But in addition to this, I want to suggest to you that you will find a hadith in which part of the hadith is in harmony with the Quran and part is in conflict with the Quran. So you have to be extremely vigilant as a researcher, as a student, as a scholar. Extremely vigilant to be able to locate whenever and wherever a hadith or a part of a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, so that you will put it aside and not allow it to corrupt your understanding of the subject. With that, having said that, we now turn to the hadith concerning alliance with Rome, because the hadith says that Rome will land in the north of Syria, Rome, under 80 flags.